Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to my channel and to the further adventures of Russel Miranda, Gunslinger. Last time when we left off, he had tried unsuccessfully to convince the cultist Diana to cry off all of her seditious talk, and she refused. So he had decided that the next thing he needed to do was check out the oil refinery. So we're going to set that as the location for scene 2. And let's draw and see what kind of challenge it is. Okay, a 6 of diamonds. That puts that as a standard brawny challenge. Okay. Well, that's something that old Russell is good at. So it's a brawny challenge. Let's maybe get some inspiration about what the nature of that challenge would be. Let's ask Ka Mai. Oh, a barrier. Okay. Well, I can kind of see that. That looks good. I can work with that. All right. So a barrier, I think in this case, especially since it's a standard physical challenge, is simply going to mean a straightforward something's blocking their way forward. So Russell is riding next to Lucas, and there are 4 deputies trailing along behind. Russell is taking, they're not moving very fast. There's no big rush this morning. And Russell is taking his time with his cigarette, taking long drags, enjoying the feel, and letting it out where the smoke is carried away on a gentle breeze away from Taunton and actually towards the oil rigs, the oil field. As he takes one of these long puffs, Lucas looks over at him and says, "Are you stupid?" Of course, Russell cuts his eyes over at him and takes another long puff, another long draw. "Why do you ask me that?" "Well, we're heading towards an oil field. And smoking that's probably not going to be very good for any of us, you kin." Russell takes another long puff from his cigarette, and he realizes the sense of what Lucas is saying. He knows that oil is used to power things and it's flammable. Although they're still a pretty good distance away. So Russell just continues to smoke his cigarette and decides not to respond to Lucas's somewhat jerkish demeanor. But he does not light another one. As he gets to the end of it, he tosses it. "So does anyone know where this mystical sludge patch is?" Russell asks. Lucas shakes his head, shrugs his shoulders. "I never bothered looking. It's all a bunch of horse shit. Any of you guys know?" And he leans over his shoulder, or looks over his shoulder at the deputies following. They all shake their heads and raise their hands and shrug their shoulders. "Well, I guess we just walk around until we find the big hole with the god in it." And they search. They search. And they do eventually, after some time, find a patch of sludge kind of off on the far side, not even really visible. But as they're searching the area, just carefully searching the area, they find this place and it is surrounded by what looks like a bunch of piles of metal. Some of them look like crumpled up wagons of the old people, some tanks. And as they stand in a certain part, they can see over the barrier, which is covered in like these rusty spikes. Only some of them look like they've been placed there. A lot of them are just pieces of shrapnel from these ruined vehicles, but definitely something that would be very dangerous to try to climb to get over, assuming they could even do it. But as they walk around, they do find a spot that looks like something has been jammed in there, almost like a some kind of engine, and it's been like an old engine that's been put over a passageway through this mountain of trash. So Russell looks around and they all examine the area. They don't find anything else, but they do find some tracks. It looks like this has obviously been moved at some point recently, or at least regularly, from the tracks in the earth beneath it. But it's jammed in there. So Russell, he takes off his coat and hangs it on one of the nearby spikes. Anybody else want to try first? And no one else volunteers, so he rolls up his sleeves and he grabs hold of what he can of this. Well, he puts on his gloves and then grabs hold of what he can from this big rusted engine block, and he heaves. All right, so that is a standard brawny challenge. He is a brawny gunslinger, so he gets to do the 3 die 6 with a standard difficulty. Okay, one success. That's all he needs. So he strains, and it is definitely heavy, uh, but he's able to lift it and scooch it and kind of walk it back far enough that he can finally toss it over to the side. And he's not sure how they normally open and close this thing, but it's certainly not fun to do manually. So they walk inside and they see this area. And just from the look, this has to be what she's talking about, what Diane Gomez is talking about, where this new god of hers lives. It is a very, uh, it's a black place, not just from the oil, but from the way it weighs on everybody. It's black, it's dark. It feels like, even though they're in the middle of the day, there's that fear kind of tickling Russell in the belly, the kind of fear that you feel when you're outside suddenly in the dark by yourself. That fear of the dark. They don't see anything. No bodies, no strange marks or anything. Let me see. Let me verify. I think on a 5 or a 6, they will see something that looks like that eye symbol that is on Diane's temple. No, okay. They don't see anything, but it sure feels like they should. Do you feel it? Yeah, I feel it. I feel it, Russell. I feel it in my puckered ass. But I don't see anything. And maybe we could try burning it. And one of the deputies from behind says, "Side Gunslinger, you will blow us all to hell if you do something like that." "I know that. I was just joking." The look on his face makes Russell think that he wasn't really joking, but had not fully thought it through before he said it. "Well, what can be done?" Russell walks around. He tries to avoid stepping in the sludge at the edge of the patch as best as he can. Um, I mean, we found this place, but I still don't see anything to convince her or to uh, condemn her on here. It's just a creepy black oil patch. Yeah, I don't know. Hmm. I wonder if there's any laws. Maybe there's a law. Maybe we need to talk to the mayor. I think we can make it, if there's not already a law, we can make it a law, get it pushed through, that only oil workers are allowed out here. Nobody else. Maybe set up a couple of deputies. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. We'll see how important her cult gets, how powerful she is when she can't get to her god. Hmm. Russell nods. Sounds like a decent idea. Nothing extreme. He picks up a rock and he throws it into the oil patch almost carelessly. And it lands on top and sits there on top almost like it's just a lot thinner, like it's shallow, like it's not as deep as it looks. Russell watches it, and then the oil around it, it looks more like the oil comes up over the little rock and pulls it in as opposed to it just finally sinking in on its own. I think we should get out of here. Let's go. Let's go talk to the mayor. And so they hop back up. Um, Russell is going to wrestle that engine block back into place. And then they're going to take a bunch of other heavy things and put that in there as well to block. So they find other pieces of debris, pieces of metal, and they set it in front of the engine. Anybody working hard enough and with tools could eventually get back through. And if Diane Gomez is getting through here, she has some kind of tool or some other way to get to that patch because there's no way she's the one lifting up that engine block. But they spend about half an hour trying to cover it up, putting spikes in the ground in front of the engine block once it's in place, doing everything they can with the scrap that's around them, without disturbing the place too much, to make it harder, if not impossible, for somebody to get through that again. And of course, if they have to get back through it again, then it'll make it that much more difficult on them. But after watching what that oil did to the rock, he's not even sure what he saw, but he is sure that he does not want to go back in there ever. So they make another cursory walk around and they don't find anything else of interest. They get on their horses and they ride back to Taunton. Here, you deputies, you head back out, carry on your shifts, walk around. Make sure them miners are not punching each other drunk. If I have to listen to one more wine session from that Dr. Hill, I think I'll shoot myself. Anyway, you Russell, come on, let's go talk to the mayor. So they hitch their horses up to the barracks, which is also it's the barracks, city jail, and sheriff's office all in one. Let's see who our mayor is. Okay. Oh, that's handy. All right, so scene number 3. I'm gonna try to convince. I'm imagining they're trying to convince the mayor, Dana Jackson, to make it illegal. But let's see what the cards have to say. A joker. All right, so we must roll 1d6. A 3. Roll on the twist table. Roll on the twist table. All right, so I guess we'll use the twist table. We'll use a twist table for the wardens of the Weird West. All right. Let's see what that is. Oh, D66. Let me hit my D66 button here. 3 and a 2. See if I can zoom it in a little for you guys to see. See better. And for me to see better. My eyes aren't what they used to be. 3, 2. Okay. Treasure map. X marks the spot. All right, well, my little video recorder keeps crashing, so I kind of shut everything down just to make sure there wasn't something hanging up in the background, but it's like every time I rolled my dice, it would crash. And unfortunately, it looks like it didn't save what I had put in the notes there, but that's okay. We've got far enough. So we've got an X marks the spot. So that makes me think almost that the mayor is involved. Like the mayor, Dana Jackson, knows something. Maybe knows something about that oil patch. So Dana is the mayor of Taunton, And he has been taken to drinking heavily. But let's see what the next scene is. See if it how it ties into that Joker. An easy brawny challenge. Okay, so that's going to be, let me note that up here real quick. Okay, I have to admit, I'm having a little trouble turning a easy brawny challenge into a way to convince. What comes to mind is some kind of intimidation, but Russell doesn't probably want to go around trying to intimidate the mayor. He might be able to intimidate him, but he's a very important person in the workings of Gilead. So let's ask Kamai. Destruction. Okay, so all right, so he's got to break something. He's got to break something. Russell and Lucas walk past the mayor's pretty secretary and into his office, not really stopping to see if he's busy or not. And they find Dana beside Jackson, busy looking through some ledgers from his time here before. Russell knows that the mayor's main job is keeping those ledgers, making sure that the iron comes in like it's supposed to. From Kendrickson, and where it gets smelted and changed into steel for the production of the weapons. And he's got to keep track of how much is bought, how much is sold, wages, expenses, all those things. Certainly not a job that Russell Miranda wants in any way. What can I do for you, gunslingers? How, Mayor? Lucas steps forward. You know, I've been working on that little problem with that Diana Gomez. And what we want, Your Honor, is a law, an ordinance, to prevent anybody except authorized oil workers heading out to that oil field. Oh, the oil field. Dana puts down the ledger and shuts it a little nervously. Did you find some place of interest out there? Did you find out what happened to those men? Nothing yet about the men. I don't reckon we'll ever know. And unless we find somebody who'll confess, or we find some kind of beast hiding in there. Russell steps forward, but we did find what we think is her patch. You've heard of her new god supposedly living in an oil patch there? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. But, I don't think I can ban her from going there. If that's where her God is, it'd be like keeping her out of her church. Russell notices that the mayor is staring at something above Russell's head, above and behind him, and he slowly turns, and he sees that there is a plaque, and it has that strange eyeball symbol on it, and it's hanging above the door to the mayor's office. Russell looks at it and looks back at the mayor, and the mayor gives him an embarrassed grin and looks away from it. I just don't know if I can sign an ordinance like that. No, I don't think that would make her happy at all, and it certainly wouldn't make her people happy. What we're looking for, Your Honor, is to help her lose sway with her people. She doesn't have access to her God, then they'll see her for the fraud that she is. I don't know that she's a fraud, gunslingers. Oh, don't give me that shit. Not you too, Mayor. There's something there. She's got some kind of power. And Russell notices that the mayor is staring up at that plaque again. Are you part of their cult, Mayor? No, not so much. But she does make a convincing case as to the power of this sludge god of hers. Does this sludge god have a name? I mean, really, what's she calling it? And here we'll just use these solo rules to make our fantasy name. I really love those solo rules. All right, 1, 3, and 6, 4. All right, so using 1, 3, and 6, 4, Cartustin, the oil sludge god. All right, so I've renamed the god from that to Ka'arkustin, just because it sounds a little more occulty. Russell, seeing how the mayor's eyes keep looking up at that and seeing how he's either intimidated or bedazzled by it somehow, Russell grabs that plaque down, and before the mayor can even get halfway out of his seat to protest, Russell tries to snap it in half, tries to crush it. No! Screams Mayor Dana. Let's see, this is an easy crafty challenge, right? Or easy brawny challenge. So we'll give him 3 dice 6. Oh, look at that. 3 successes. So this thing, it just crumbles. Russell twists it and crushes it together, and it just explodes into splinters. And the Mayor Dana, looks at it and lets out a whimper, almost as if a child who had just lost his toy down the river and knew he was never going to get it back. And he falls heavily back into his seat. And then he lets out a loud sigh. That's so strange. I feel very, very confused all of a sudden. She asked me to put that thing up there as a token of trying to, as coexisting, as trying to get everyone to work together. But I think that she put some kind of glam on that. If she put some kind of glam on it, that's to the fire with her. No, you can't just do that, though. If she glammed me, how many other people in town, how many of her followers are glammed too? What kind of riot, what kind of destruction would that cause? Oh no. She's got some kind of power, that Diana Gomez. I've known her since she was a child. She was not always like this. Gunslingers, you're going to have to go back out there and see about stopping whatever her sludge monster is. You need to put a stop to whatever's going on in the oil field. And I will immediately, and he reaches over to his desk and he pulls out a quill pen and an ink pot and he starts scribbling on a piece of paper. I will immediately enact this ordinance. No one's going out there. But I warn you, once it gets out, she may not listen anyway. Her followers may not listen. So if you plan on putting some guards up there, make sure that they're the strong type. And he finishes writing as Russell and Lucas give each other sidelong glances and look down at the shattered plaque. And as Russell looks down at it, he leaps away from it because the pieces of wood that it was made of have turned into these writhing worms on the ground, which are quickly drying up and dying. And he looks wide-eyed at Lucas and then at the mayor. The mayor hasn't noticed. He's still scrawling away on his paper. Then he rings a bell and the secretary comes in and he hands it to her. And he says, I need that. I need 4 copies of that. And be sure that 3 of them go out to the town criers. Get them posted on the boards. Make sure everyone knows. No one else, no one except the oil workers, is to go out to that field. Yes, Mayor, right away. And she hustles out, closes the door. Well, I hope she won't be angry with me. I hope that won't cause some kind of curse on me. Those old tales, those witchy women, nothing good ever comes dealing with them. That's why I think we should burn her. And we may. But if she has people witchy, I want to make sure that they're safe. I think the mayor may be right with this one, Russell says. He lights up a cigarette. The mayor looks like he's about to protest, but Russell ignores it. I guess tomorrow we do need to head back out there. And maybe we do bring along something to try to set that sludge on fire. Mayor. And then Russell and Lucas head back, discussing various ways of what they might have to do. Maybe we should send somebody to watch her, to see what she does, to see if she heads out there. Maybe we'll get a good view, a better idea of what's actually there. Well, that's probably not a bad idea, but I'm going to have to see around town. I need my men here in case when that goes out that in case the mayor's right, that there is some kind of general uprising. But I think that's a good idea, Russell. You ain't as scared to go out there by yourself, are you? I've been in worse. Man, you are one bad son of a bitch, Russel Miranda. All right, well, I tell you what. You make your way real quiet like, watch that church, and you see what happens. And if they head out to the oil field, you follow. Try to be careful, though. It's real easy to get yourself lost. Turned up in that place. Looks like it's full of giant skeletons at night. All right. Well, I guess I better get some grub. And with that, Russell Miranda and Lucas sit down with their little posse and eat grub. And Russell goes through and prepares for his night trip. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. And hopefully the various technological issues I had going on in that recording don't crop up in editing. But anyway, thanks for coming along. Hope you had a good time. And I hope to see you again in the furthering adventures of Russell Miranda, Gunslinger. Happy gaming.